You're not live yet?
We just went live.
Okay. You better?
Okay, we're live now.
Hi, everyone. All right, so we're a little bit late, but 3 minutes is not that big of a deal. We will definitely make it up as we kind of get through all of your questions that you have today. My name is Sara Sadat. I am a trustee here in Lisle, as well as an IT manager. I work for a Fortune 500 company, and we've been kind of going through with a lot of questions on unemployment with just the situation that we're in right now with COVID-19. We wanted to come together and find a platform, a way that we can come out to you and get you some really good information. So I have Jeff Jacobson here. Jeff, take it away.
Well, evening, everyone. So I'm Jeff Jacobson. I'm an attorney. I practice law in Illinois for about 30 years now. I used to be an administrative law judge with the Illinois Department of Employment Security, where I decided on about 10,000 cases. So we're going to try to answer your unemployment, PUA, PPP questions. So then, hello, Robert. So if you have any questions, go ahead, hit us with it. I know that one of the issues we've been seeing a lot of, people have filed for unemployment in Illinois, have been denied. They then file for the PUA, and the PUA system says they can't get PUA because they're eligible for unemployment benefits. So that's been one of the major issues right now, which hopefully they're working it out, because you can't be denied for both of them. So, and how's your day been, Sarah?
It's been super long and exhaustive. I think I am working a couple different jobs as a stay-at-home employee, as a mom. And today was kind of really nice. We had a lot of graduation ceremonies and a lot of award ceremonies for the kids. So we've been doing a lot of driving back and forth for that. Also, we're preparing for floods. The rains are coming again. I know that's going to be a huge challenge for some of our people who have already gone through the recent floods that have happened on Monday, Sunday night and Monday timing here in DuPage County. It's never an easy thing to kind of deal with floods to begin with, but in a situation like this where everybody is at home, all helping out, I think it made for a really nice kind of come together moment for a lot of the neighbors that were there. So again, reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns with any of that. How have you been today, Jeff?
I've been fine. Did a little work, helped my wife out. Kind of enjoyed it. It was kind of nice out. And, just getting through. I just read that the Illinois Supreme Court is probably going to start opening up the courthouses June 1st. Although that being said, a lot of people don't realize it, like divorces, they're still happening now. They're getting finalized. We've got a guardian ad litem that we're, representing, and that's moving ahead. So a lot of stuff is moving ahead, still in the court, but it's really slow. So, and, doing appeals, and I have a board of review dispute with the state of Illinois IDS, so I'll probably be drafting that tomorrow. But trying to keep busy.
So you anticipate a lot of the courts to open up around DuPage County?
Well, electronically with Zoom. So
okay.
It's, I anticipate that happening relatively quickly. Some of the courts have been using telephone hearings for years, one or two of them in DuPage. So I anticipate they're going to be using Zoom for a lot of them. and we'll see. Because some of the litigants don't have computers.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge all the way around. Technology is not the most easiest on normal times, and in situations like this, it's going to be even more challenging when everybody else is jumping on the same broadband signal, right? So I have a first question. It's from John. Let's get started, you guys. John asks, can you ask how a W-2 employee from 2019 can get help? I've been denied because I quit the job to open my own salon and cannot file PUA. I had an appeal hearing and was denied.
So that's a perfect example of someone that's not eligible for UI, unemployment insurance. And so you would definitely be eligible for PUA as long as you've been denied. So I'm not sure why they're denying her on the PUA, but you definitely want to talk to someone and then file an appeal if they're denying you, because you're certainly eligible. And then I see this question a lot. What is PUA adjudication payment hold? So an adjudication means that someone at IDS is determining whether you're eligible for benefits. It comes about with normal unemployment benefits where you claim you've been severed and then the employer files a protest and someone at the local office adjudicates that, decides whether you're eligible or not. They may call you on the telephone and interview you, or they may be able to decide just from the facts that are submitted. Same thing with the PUA. You may not have proven you're eligible. You may not be a sole proprietor, a 1099, or a ineligible employee. So that's what that means. Although it may mean that something's messed up. So I would follow up in a few days to find out, if it still says pending adjudication, I'd find out why.
Okay. Robert Jameson asks, got through today, denied for UI, filed PUA on the 11th. They said they have all my information, but I'm on payment hold. My concern is they have no answers for me, but then I get a letter that my information was compromised. Do you think that would make things go faster for me?
And I don't mean to laugh at your situation, but the security and all those things should have been tested thoroughly before Deloitte put it into production. So it's actually sad. But yeah, I don't know if you've seen the news. I think it was a few days after they started up on May 11th that it was determined that people that applied can look at everyone's personal information, which I believe was corrected on Sunday. So, yeah. Once again, if it's taken a long time, like if it's taken more than a week, I would definitely contact them and then getting, wrong corner. If you go to the IDS website, and in this, there'll be a chat box, artificial intelligence, go through it. You'll be able to send a message to IDS, put your information in, and supposedly someone that'll know the answer will call you back in 2 days. And I'm curious whether it's working. So if you've done it and more than 2 days has elapsed, let us know.
Yeah, come right back to one of these or our Illinois and Indiana Unemployment Guidance Group that's right down there on Facebook. Make sure you reply back to us, Robert. Let us know what happens. We'd be very interested to know. Jethro says, I was going to talk about Jethro's comment about landlords not understanding why they can't pay. Is there anything that you can tell Jethro?
What does he mean about landlords not paying? I assume he means tenants not paying.
Yeah.
It's right. Okay. So the tenants still have to pay the rent. There's in Chicago, I think they've worked out some kind of financing to help tenants out. But if you're a landlord and you're not receiving rent, you can file for eviction. I don't know when the courts are going to start those eviction processes. If you're a tenant, you need to pay or work out something with the landlord, because once the landlord gets an eviction judgment, 30 days after that, it's a final order, and there's nothing you can do. The only delay statewide is the governor has ordered the sheriffs not to physically evict someone. They haven't stopped the actual legal eviction process. I know there's been, I've heard there's been some tenants that have worked it out, and then some tenants that believe they can't be evicted ever and have been nasty to the landlords. Please don't assume that you don't have to pay rent or you can't be evicted. So hopefully that answers Jethro's question.
Jethro, you can also click on the StreamYard link that is part of this Facebook post if you'd like to come on air and ask your question yourself. You will do your question far more justice than anybody else that's reading it for you. So I would suggest that if you have additional questions, to go ahead and click on that link and become part of our webinar. Whitney says, what about additional claims? What do I need to do? And help.
So additional claims may mean you've filed numerous times. The first claim that's been filed, or if you've filed a claim, you've used your 26 weeks up, you wouldn't be entitled to a second claim. You have to be working for a while and replenish into the state unemployment tax. So there's a statute and rules on when you can file a second claim. But if you're denied, you can get PUA. If you've only filed one claim, then I don't know why it's saying that. I have no idea. So, and someone's asking about school. Will I be denied if I start school next month? You'll only be denied if you start school, and I'm assuming you're talking that you're going to be a student. You would only be denied once you start school and it's your full-time occupation is how the state looks at it. So if you're going to school full-time and the jobs are just to make enough money to pay for school and stuff, then school is your full-time employment, and yes, you will not be eligible for unemployment benefits during that period of time.
Jeff, we had a series of questions yesterday about Uber drivers and Lyft drivers. I know we had a little bit of research to do on our side. Casimir asks, I'm a Uber driver. I filed for regular unemployment and got denied. I filed for PUA and now it's saying payment hold. Now I heard Uber and Lyft drivers are being transferred back to regular unemployment. Can you talk about that, please?
So let's start with a concept. So people may claim they're a independent contractor and the company may, but that doesn't mean, according to IDS, you're an independent contractor. So you may have been denied initially because there weren't any W-2 information submitted, because you and the Uber determined that you were a 1099, an independent contractor. And then the state may have made a recent ruling where they determined that you were an employee and that Uber now needs to submit the W-2 and the quarterly data. I'm not sure if that's what happened, but you definitely want to be under the regular unemployment because you receive that $600 more a week. So that's very beneficial. But I would follow up because hopefully that's not going to take long.
Yeah, so go ahead and do all of the things that you do for regular unemployment. It doesn't matter if you were denied or not. As an Uber driver, that's where you should be filing. If you have any questions, call back or comment back on our feeds. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Mimi says she's denied for benefits, changed job 1 month before everything was shut down for pandemic. Since I worked with kids, how can I not be eligible for benefits?
So it has to do with how much money you made in the benefit year or the alternate benefit year. So you may have not made enough money as a W-2 wage earner to be entitled to regular unemployment benefits. So that may be why you need to file as a PUA. You certainly want to contact the department and see if that's the reason why, that you just didn't make enough during the year. Although ask them to calculate your alternate year so they can do that rather quickly and tell you if you have enough money during your alternate year or if there's more money during your alternate year. So that, hopefully that helps.
Oh, that's really good to know. Bill says it's about the PUA adjudication. So I sent in my taxes with my application as a proof of self-employment, and he has called, but nobody knows anything. Just a courtesy for anybody that's asking questions. If you could let us know what state you're calling in from or commenting from, that will really help us out because there are a little bit of nuances to the rules that Jeff is really, really familiar with. Me, not so much, but I can go ahead and read it out by saying that, hey, Bill is from Illinois or Indiana or Michigan. So feel free to include your state. Any advice for Bill, Jeff?
So it's getting late for me probably. I forgot what Bill's question is, but one of the things I want to point out, I can only answer questions on Illinois law. I can talk about the process because it's guided by federal law. It's guided by the Social Security Act. So all the states have very similar process. They just have calculations and requirements. Like some states, you have to certify every week. Illinois every other week. And then the calculation of how much you receive. So, for example, Illinois, you receive 47% of your average weekly wages for the 12-month period, and there's caps and minimals on that. So hopefully that helps everyone. And hopefully, Sarah, you're keeping up because I can't keep up with the questions flowing.
There's a lot of questions coming. So Bill's question was about PUA adjudication. He sent in his taxes and with his application as a proof of employment, right? Is there anything that you can guide him with? Because he called and no one knows what to do.
So here's the problem with Illinois. For, 50, 60 years, the unemployment benefits program has been working. All the people have been trained. Everyone, for the most part, understands that system. And then May 11th, all of a sudden, PUA came into effect. Not everyone understands. Not everyone knows. You may want to see if you can talk to a supervisor. Once again, I'm being told if you click on the chat box in IDS, it'll be in this corner. You'll see it pop up. It's obnoxious. Every page you go to, it pops up. But you can try to ask your question there, and supposedly someone will get back to you in 2 days. But, yeah, I apologize. That's one of the reasons that this is so popular. It's because, there's a lot of people that are answering the phones that don't know the answers. Not that I know every answer.
JS has a question. I'm a 1099 contractor, was staffed at a client through a vendor. My PUA shows pending adjudication. When I called, they said my original UI claim is pending to see if I am an employee or contractor. I'm waiting supposedly for an interview. I have been without pay since April 1st. I am definitely a contractor. How can I get an interview ASAP for adjudication?
So the problem is an employee has to call you. I'm not sure how many employees are on staff to do that. You can try to, when you call next time, see if they can patch you to the adjudicator. I'm going to make a note and see if I can find it. See if I can get the answer. Because I don't know on the staff how they're doing it.
So our answer will be posted on Illinois and Indiana Unemployment Guidance Group by Jeffrey Jacobson on Facebook, as well as he'll probably reply to this comment here. So keep a lookout for that answer, hopefully either today or early in the morning, because Jeff wakes up at like 3 in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, why? Jethro actually had a follow-up question. I don't know if you remember Jethro's question, but his follow-up is he's getting no answers. Basically, his POA money release as to when he's going to be getting his POA money to come through. He has a tattoo shop that's been shut down since March 13th. No income, 10 weeks POA, no answers. He's not receiving anything.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting. I was talking to another attorney about the tattoo shops. So they're highly regulated, and I think there's a lawsuit already filed to argue the tattoo shops can open up. All that has to happen is they have to make some regulations to keep it safe, although it's my understanding from the attorney all the regulations in place now would be the same thing as any other business. So it'll be interesting to see whether tattoo shops can open up sooner than the normal phasing. All right. Apologize, you're going to have to read me that question one more time.
Yeah. Jethro's question?
Yes.
He says nobody's answering him to get his PUA money released because he has a tattoo shop. There's really no answers as to what's happening with PUA. So I think you answered majority of that.
Right.
Yeah, let's go to Inga's question. She says that it was her understanding that CARES Act stops all filing for evictions and foreclosures through 7/25. And I know we were talking about the legal filings for eviction versus the physical filings for evictions. If you could speak to that a little bit, that would be beneficial for all of our tenants and all of the landlords out there.
So Inga, there's nothing in the CARES Act that I'm aware of that talks about evictions. What happened is Governor Pritzker stayed the sheriff from evicting people. That's why I was pointing that out earlier. There seems to be some confusion with people that it's stopping the actual eviction process, the legal process, what happens in a courtroom. That's not being stopped. The actual sheriff going and removing someone is what's stopped. So if you were ordered by court to be evicted and before the governor entered that order, then the sheriff would evict you. But if the sheriff was going to go out the next day, the sheriff could no longer evict you till that order has been removed by the governor. So that's why I'm pointing it out. People think that there's a stay on the judicial system, and there isn't. It's just courtrooms aren't open yet to do the evictions, but I can tell you landlords are filing evictions.
Okay. Casimir says, what's going on with Uber drivers being converted back to regular unemployment after being denied the first time and filing the PUA? I know we addressed this a little bit earlier. Casimir, if you want to go back, you can look at the detailed feed to get that answer. But if you want to give, Jeff, if you want to give Casimir just a quick rundown of what we already discussed.
So, Casimir, I'm going to look that up, and tomorrow I hope to have an answer for you.
All right, I'm going to hold you accountable for that, Jeff. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock. All right.
Hey,
George says, what about the drop menu issue where if we're on hold, we only have 3 more correspondences but can see anything, then finally get through to be put back in queue, not being JG able to talk to anybody. This is a problem that we've been facing from the very beginning of unemployment with this pandemic.
There's no answer for it. Unfortunately, you have to just keep dialing. Get a speed dial for that phone number.
All right. Leslie wanted to kind of clarify her question about going back to school full-time versus part-time. She's going back to school part-time, so I think it won't necessarily apply for her, right, Jeff? If a person goes back to school part-time, they don't necessarily lose their unemployment benefits.
Right. So it's just the question of whether it's full-time or not. So if you're going back to school full-time, it's just like going back to your job full-time. You won't be eligible for benefits after that. And one of the questions for the certification is, are you going to school full-time?
Yeah. So since Leslie's going back to school part-time, we're okay with that. I'm going to move on to Lisa's question. If I went back to work but only worked 24 hours but made too much to qualify but certified, will I have to file a new claim if I will qualify for the next 2 weeks? So do you want me to repeat that question, or are you good with it?
I'm good with that. So you'll just report what the wages are you receive. Once you go back full-time, it'll ask you and it'll stop the unemployment benefits for you. If you then go back, if you then lose your job or the hours get reduced, you'd have to file a new claim.
Okay. Mimi says, I did make enough money though. Impossible to get through. Thank you. I know it has been a challenge getting through. There are different times, different kind of prompts that you can put in that you can bypass some of the automated responses that will kind of get you to that holding queue a lot sooner than the other places. The unemployment sites like Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Nevada, I believe a lot of the people have been posting what that combination is on the series key that you can hit to bypass these. But unfortunately, everybody in the United States is going through this. Every single person in your state is feeling the pain of the pandemic. So all we can say is just be patient and just be vigilant. You will eventually get through.
Right, and it's 7:30 to 6. You can call in. I think if you call in at 7:30, and I've heard some people say you can call in 7 and get into the queue. But if you call in that early, I think your odds are a little better. That being said, tomorrow everyone's going to call at 7:30 and it'll get jammed. But that would be one thing I would try.
Okay. This is a question that we see a lot, but I think it's a really good question to ask. Christina says, I left my full-time job in 2019 to become self-employed. I was told I was required to apply under my previous employer since the benefit is still available. Is that true?
So, no, you would be denied benefits because you voluntarily quit under 601. That being said, If they're giving benefits, if they're saying that's true, I'd give it a shot. But under the Section 601, if you voluntarily left and it wasn't because of good cause attributable to the employer, meaning you were just wanted to quit, then you're not entitled to unemployment benefits. And that would still, in my opinion, be upheld during COVID-19. So if you quit because you just didn't want to go back to work, you wouldn't be eligible. If you stopped working temporarily because of COVID-19, then you are eligible for benefits. So my opinion is they've given you bad advice, but there may be something I don't know. And you may be eligible for unemployment benefits. And once again, the bonus is the $600 in federal that will last till, I think it's July 25th.
Yep. And she follows up. She's basically saying that it was a voluntary job, that she quit on good terms, and they won't do a payout for her. If they deny her, will she still qualify for PUA under self-employment? Remember, she quit in 2019 and went to work for herself.
Absolutely. She's so if she's working, she can report what her lost income is, and then they'll use that to determine what her unemployment benefits are. And that'll be, I believe it's 47% of the loss income as self-employed.
Charlie from Michigan, hello. I was rejected for some weeks because I accidentally checked the wrong answer. I was told by Michigan Works that I cannot get that back. From Michigan, his password for the website expired. Did the steps to change the password. Now the new and the old passwords don't work. He has tried to call in with the same results as millions of others. So just being hung up, basically, or I'm sorry, just to be stuck in a queue for the longest time.
So as I emphasize to people in Illinois, you have 30 days to file your appeal. So if you believe that the decision was wrong, you can file an appeal, and then under the federal rules and regulations, the appeals division will have to hear the case. There's a process on the appeals under the federal law. It's just like a mini trial. So there's stuff you have to do. But if you're denied benefits wrongfully, the appeal process is there for everyone in the United States.
Yep. So Jeff, this is a good one. I don't know if we've had anybody from the Instacart place. So Jamie, and I hope I'm saying your name correctly, says, are Instacart shoppers / drivers included in the same group of Uber / Lyft drivers being bounced back to the regular unemployment? Or is it only Uber and Lyft?
So there was a case years ago, maybe like 20 years now, where a messenger service had reported all its employees as independent contractors, 1099s, and there were no taxes paid on them. They didn't get unemployment benefits. And then someone said, that's wrong, I'm really an employee. The Illinois Department of Employment Security looked into it and determined that these messenger people were actually employees. Now, let me give you some of the things that happened. So the messenger employees could start whenever they wanted. They can show up tomorrow at 3 p.m. and then they can stop whenever they want. So they could work for 15 minutes, or they can work 8 hours or 10 hours, and they may never come back. It's their own car, their own gas. The radio and the shirt were leased, and it, as if they were an independent contractor, and the state decided they're employees. So the Instacart people may be employees, and as you may have heard me every once in a while say, most people that think they're 1099s have turned out to really be a W-2 wage earner. So I would file under UI, and then I would appeal it, arguing you really are a wage earner if you meet the criterias. So hopefully that helps.
And make sure you come back and you let us know, or you let everybody on the Illinois and Indiana Unemployment Guidance Group know what has transpired. I have a private chat coming to me from Sonia. Sonia, I don't know if you're also online. If you want to ask your question yourself, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and read it. I tried to ask yesterday. I'm in Illinois, and I applied for PUA on March 11th. When it opened. She has been certifying all these weeks so far. She has had one issue with pending, and it basically says it's under adjudication. I thought adjudication was when there was a dispute against employers and employees. With both PUA, there is not an employer to deny your claim. So I'm wondering why, along with the others, is she in adjudication?
So good question. So let me tell you how the process for unemployment works. When you apply for unemployment, you normally would receive your benefits right away to help with the rent, the food, but someone makes a determination as to whether you're eligible for benefits or not. So let's say that you quit your job, you didn't want to work anymore, the job was available, but the employer isn't going to protest it. The employer doesn't care. Well, the state of Illinois would send out your money right away. You'd be certifying every 2 weeks, but someone needs to adjudicate that, look at it, and they may look at it and go, oh, you're not eligible for benefits because you just quit. And they would then, that adjudicator would send out a local office determination. So with the sole proprietors and the 1099s, you're right, they don't have an employee, but someone has to determine whether you're actually eligible for benefits. So for example, let's say you're self-employed and I'm going to really embellish, but just so you understand, not saying these are any facts, and you submit your profit and loss statement that shows it's just a blank piece of paper. There's no information. Well, someone's eventually going to look at that and say, well, you're not eligible for benefits under PUA because you didn't lose anything. The COVID-19 didn't impact you. So that's the process in the adjudication. They haven't hired more adjudicators. And as you know, I think the number of people that are employed, it might be 2,000% higher than it was last year. And that's the problem. But I would also call in, see if the squeaky wheel gets the grease, if you can talk to someone to get you out of adjudication and issue a local office determination.
So just to kind of piggyback off of that question from Debbie, says her husband is a consultant. He has not applied for unemployment yet. He doesn't know if his clients will be the ones that they will call to get the verification for his 1099.
So no, if you have 1099s from 2019, you submit those. They're not going to do an investigation.
Yeah.
At this point, you need to submit your tax returns, 1099s. You do certify that the information you're submitting is truthful. If not, it's a crime. So that usually takes care of it. That being said, there are people that commit fraud and the state goes after them. But they're not going to be interviewing your clients. They're not going to be interfering with your husband's business relationship.
There was a Facebook user that asks, I heard we were supposed to upload our regular unemployment denial letters as one of the items required. Is that true?
No, I'm not aware of that. No, it's IDS. They already have that information. In fact, they're telling some people that they haven't been denied yet, um, or they haven't filed for unemployment yet. So it's not separate systems. They're linked together. So yes, just like they have your social security and your information from the state already. Another example would be, so if you initially file for unemployment and your spouse is not working and not collecting unemployment benefits, you get an extra dependency credit for that. However, the second your spouse starts collecting unemployment, they link it both together, and you'll automatically not be receiving that additional benefit for your spouse. So they have that information. They just won't know for a quarter whether your spouse goes back to work or not, because employers report on a quarterly basis.
Angelica says it's been a month and it's still saying that there's an adjudication error. Her job already approved it. What should she do? She keeps calling and nothing happens.
Well, job doesn't approve it. They just don't file a protest. I mean, I guess they could say the person's entitled to benefits, but that's the problem. So there isn't enough adjudicators. I would call and see if you can get it. They changed to adjudicated, so the checks can start coming if they haven't, although they should be coming even if it's not adjudicated. So I'm not really sure, but I try to be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease once again. I've got to come up with a better saying for that.
I don't know. I kept saying vigilant. I was hoping that meant the same thing, but maybe not.
Be vigilant. That's very good.
All right. Victoria says, for extensions, do you need to receive both emails and text messages?
For extensions, for the federal extension after the 26 weeks, I'm not sure. Read that question again.
It basically says, for extensions, do you need to receive both email and text messages? So yeah,
I don't.
if Victoria, you can comment back to us and clarify. We would love to get your answer solved, or your question answered. Cassandra says, why do they have a hold on some people's payments, and how long does it take for them to lift that hold? What's the criteria for the holds?
So it's normally it would be a few days. Now I'm hearing, so it should not be any longer than 2 weeks. If you are going longer than 2 weeks, you definitely want to do the two things we've talked about. One is you want to call and be vigilant in calling. And two is, you need to file an appeal if you've now run into 3 weeks and nothing's happening. Because, I don't know the results, but, you need to move and drive this ahead. It's a huge problem. And then also you want to go on the website in this corner, click the chat, and get to the point where you can send a message. And
right.
Actually,
Cliff has a question. If I was out on medical leave with a broken arm and was released by a doctor in April, but couldn't return to work due to childcare being closed, do I qualify?
So yes, you don't qualify for the period of time that you're unable to work because of an illness. You do qualify if the reason is childcare because of COVID-19 or the governor's stay-at-home order, or because you have to watch kids because the schools are closed. So yes, you would qualify from that period of time.
One of the Facebook users says, I have a pending issue, but it doesn't say why it's pending. And I think they're doing PUA.
Right. So, and I don't know why it's pending either. Unfortunately, those kind of questions I can't actually answer. But you need to call it the Illinois 800-244-5631.
Cassandra says, they say that her bank account has been exhausted. How do I receive the PUA?
So I think what's happened is her benefits have been exhausted under regular unemployment. And so I'm not clear on the actual question, but two things. If you were getting regular unemployment benefits, the federal government kicks in for 13 more weeks, which should happen automatically. If not, then you should be able to get PUA. And, it just sounds like the system for you is messed up, and you'll need to talk to someone to get that straightened away.
This one is a pretty lengthy question, so hang in there with me. Anna C says she's from Virginia, and I'm receiving unemployment benefits since March for being furloughed from work this week. I didn't receive my benefits, and I didn't receive any notice telling me why it's been stopped. And my situation never changed. I do have another job still open, but I was on call working only 2 days a week. She's asthmatic. I bought a document from my doctor saying that she has asthma, and that's the reason why she stopped working. What do you think the reasons could be for her benefit? Again, she's from Virginia.
So under Illinois, you would be entitled to benefits if you can't work because of an illness that prevents you because of COVID-19. So, I would contact someone there at the state to find out what the problem is. And I don't know whether you're entitled to unemployment benefits or not, but the appeal process is one way to solve it. If you can't get through the appeal, you're definitely entitled to PUA benefits.
Just a follow up from Cassandra. She says that she never received unemployment at all to begin with. Yeah. So I think the last question that I have for today is from Kaylee. Kaylee is in Illinois. She filed PUA on 5/11. She has 2 pending issues, but can't see anything in her inbox. She doesn't have an option for that drop-down box that is on that side of your screen as you're looking at it, and has been trying daily to call with no luck. She has an in-home daycare, and she's uploaded taxes, ID, social security card, and all that.
So, couple things. One is on the PUA for adjudication, they have to be way, 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 way behind. 2 is you've got to make a, unfortunately, tremendous amount of effort to call in. It's almost easier to win the lotto than it is to get through to someone. But start at 7 o'clock in the morning, spend about 45 minutes calling, and then try other times. It's not based on how many times you call. It's just based on whether you're lucky. I think we actually had someone, Sarah, early on that said they got through right away, which was amazing. But yeah, you can get through if your timing's good.
Right. Or you follow certain prompts, or if, magically somebody drops off and somebody picks it up. It's not consistent. That's how call queues work. It depends on how many people are calling in at that very instant that makes you get on a call queue. So again, keep trying, keep hanging in there, you guys. Jamie says, from Illinois, should we have submitted photos of our dependent social security cards during the PUA application?
I'm sorry, I missed the middle mark. Can you repeat her question again?
No worries. Jamie was asking if she should have submitted pictures of the dependent social security cards during the PUA application.
No, you need to just submit the information for the dependents, but there's no documentation. The only social security card you might have to submit would have been your own if they don't have any record of you. There's identification, but if they don't request it, don't submit it.
And I think we were answering these at the very beginning where debit cards were being sent out versus direct deposit. Carrie was saying that I never received my first debit card with my first 2 weeks since April 19th. Later, she changed it to direct deposit. She did receive her benefits since April 29th. How does she go back and get the other payments?
So a debit card should have been mailed automatically, and it doesn't come from IDS. It comes from it's Key Smart or something like that. I'm going blank on it. It's a separate company. So if you got what looks like a solicitation envelope and it had, if you felt it, a card in it, that was your debit card. You may have thrown it out. You'll have to contact the state, and they'll be able to put it on your direct deposit account. And that's how it should have been set up at the beginning. You don't really have an option to set up for direct deposit right from the beginning.
Jethro's PUA payment says holds, no payment status, pending issues. And I think we may have answered this in the past. If there are any concerns, you should go ahead and call the numbers that you see on the bottom on the scroll bar over there for Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. That is probably the best solution or the best response that they can give you, because we cannot really see what you're looking at as far as pending issues go. Unless you want to add something more to that, Jeff, I'm going to move on to Jennifer's question.
Okay. No, that's fine.
All right, cool. So Jennifer says she found a part-time job for about 3 weeks at a different job than where she was working at before. She took a PLOA because she found out that she was pregnant. Can she still get unemployment starting for the weeks after she stopped working?
So if you're unable to work because of pregnancy, then no, and you can't. If you are on FMLA, though, the first 10 days that they have to make you use your sick days or vacation days to pay, then after 10 days, the employer has to pay you, and there's a formula for that for the next 10 weeks on FMLA if your employer has 500 employees or less.
Yep.
And that's only during COVID. That's the CARES Act. That will change back to the regular law, which was much different. It was for an employer over 50 on FMLA, and you didn't receive a penny on FMLA. They just had to guarantee your job would be there when you're done with FMLA. So the CARES Act changed the FMLA a lot.
So for everybody that is asking questions, after we are done with this live broadcast, this webinar will be available on our Facebook page. So go ahead to that Facebook page and you can rewatch this, especially to that point in time where you asked your question to get your questions answered. So this doesn't just disappear. You can go back and revisit your question if you missed what exactly Jeff was talking about. So it should be available along with all of the other webinars that we have done. They're all on Illinois and Indiana Unemployment Guidance Group. Raza Siddiqui, my better half, he's mostly on there as well. So if you want to look at another handsome fellow, go ahead and make sure you check some of those out. Carrie says, who do I contact? She's not getting through to anybody. We got numbers on the bottom, Carrie, but if there is a number that you're not from Illinois, Indiana, or Michigan, I'm going to let you know this. Go on Google, type in unemployment and the state that you're coming from, and the first hit, 9 times out of 10, is for the unemployment office. So Google Smart Engine has it rigged up in a way that the first thing that normally pops up is your unemployment office for that state. So make sure you put in unemployment and the state. And if I'm wrong, I want you guys to call back and comment on some of these questions below, saying that, hey, Sarah, that's not what happened.
Right, and I apologize. So a lot of these things, it's It's exhausting. It's a lot of work. It's frustrating because you can't get a hold of someone. But the only way to get it straightened out is to contact someone with your Department of Employment Security. That's the only way for a lot of these very unique and messed up situations.
Yeah. And, anytime there's any data issues, anytime you keep going back and recorrecting them, those data issues and that kind of stuff really can only be addressed by a customer service rep. So you've got to call those toll-free numbers that are scrolling on the bottom, or if you're coming from a different state that is not Illinois, Michigan, or Indiana, do a Google search for unemployment in the state that you are calling from. Nisi says, I've applied, and I think, you know what? Let's make this our last question, Jeff. What do you think? All right.
That's fine. I'm exhausted. You were like not stopping with the questions.
Oh my God! When there's such a big demand for people, I'm telling you, this kind of energizes me. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, with like 3 of my other jobs that I'm doing, right, along with childcare and all this other stuff. You guys revive me, so I keep hitting you at it. Nisi says, I've applied back in April, and my claims, oh man, see, this is what happens when I'm reading. They keep scrolling so fast. My claims still say non-monetary issues and no luck with getting through on calls. She's from Michigan.
Right. So, Nisi, you have to just unfortunately keep calling because you need to talk to someone and find out why you're not receiving your money. There's no way for me to know. And the only process that I can tell you to do is either call or before 30 days file an appeal because you'll get someone's attention with the appeal.
Yeah, and then, you know what? Jennifer just has a follow-up to her question. To her PLOA earlier, there have been a few cases of COVID-19 at my work. She also has 2 kids. Remember, she's the one who's pregnant and kind of trying to go through this again. She's having issues finding daycare. Would it be better to continue working just under my allowed amount for the week and keep the job? Oh, that's a tough question.
So if you're on, okay, so let's start. What's the reason you're not working? I mean, if it's because of the pregnancy, you're unable to work, then that's what it is. It's you're not eligible for benefits. As far as the others, that's just a personal decision you're going to have to make as to whether you want to work part-time if that's all that's given to you. And I can tell you and I apologize, I don't know what state you're in, but in Illinois, when you apply, they'll tell you what your weekly benefit amount is. Unfortunately, you need a call and they'll tell you over the phone. But when you get your weekly benefit amount, if you work and make that amount of money, you're not eligible for unemployment, so the whole thing may be frustrating. So if your weekly benefit amount would be $400 and you work part-time and you make $400, you won't be eligible for unemployment benefits. If you work part-time and you make $200, you'll be able to keep your $200 and your unemployment benefits. And then it steps up dollar for dollar till you get to $400. But that's whether you work or not is certainly not a legal issue, and it's not an easy decision. I completely understand. That being said, under the law, you'd be entitled to PUA, the pandemic unemployment assistance, because you're not eligible for normal unemployment benefits. So I'd apply under the first one, get denied, and then apply under PUA. So you'll receive some money.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate everything that you're doing here today. And thank you so much for all of the viewers that are watching us on multiple platforms for asking your questions. We should be back here again tomorrow. We will have pretty much the notification kind of go out to when it is that we will be online. either in the morning or in the evening, depending on where we are. I'm counting down the days for Ramadan. We're in single-digit days. So I'm literally, as we end our broadcast today, we'll be running over and grabbing a day to break my fast. But I really do hope for the rest of you that you continue to hang in there. Just continue to be vigilant. We'll be right back here with you guys tomorrow, hopefully either at 11 o'clock or 7 o'clock. So see you then. Bye.
Right. If I could just point out one, if the people are still listening and you don't mind going to do a Google search on jeffreyjacobsonlaw.com and rate this service today, that'd be great. Otherwise, see everyone possibly tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Sarah.